On Mondays, I often like to try to bring a dose of reality to a weekend of fluff, a weekend of feelings, a weekend of emotion that people react and oftentimes overreact. And so I created this segment because I like to just bring a harsh dose of reality with no feelings whatsoever. So I call this segment Overreactions versus Reality. Overreaction. Your Texas Longhorns, after getting rolled, and I'm being generous, 35-10 by Georgia, have no chance to get in the college football playoff. Reality. Look, trust me, in another segment, I'm going to talk about them and their embarrassment on Saturday night and the coaching embarrassment they suffered on Saturday night. There's a lot. It'll get a little nerdy, but there's a lot to pick apart. That said, not that Texas necessarily deserves to be in the playoff, but if, and it's a big if not a ridiculous if, they were to beat Arkansas and A&M in Austin, it's a safe bet, okay? It would then be a safe bet that they'll get in, and the reason is the SEC will likely get five teams in. Does the league deserve to have 5 teams in? No, of course not. But that's not what the tournament is about. The argument for Texas will be they have wins if over Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, and a win over a top 3 A&M team would be their selling point. The added bonus that is not mentioned out loud is their name is Texas. So the obvious locks are A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma have good arguments as well. So yes, if Texas ended the season, with 3 losses, they would get into the tournament. Sure. Now, I have plenty of thoughts about what I think is a terrible coaching job by multi-million-dollar coach at Texas, Steve Sarkisian, and his staff, but that's another segment. You're probably saying, but Jeff, how can you say Texas wins their final 2 games when they just got torched on the road against Georgia? Fair point. There's no way I can make sense of them. I'm just telling you that if the hot take is they wouldn't get in the tournament no matter what, that's not true. That's an overreaction. Is Texas the team that got lucky to beat Kentucky, got lucky to beat Mississippi State, lost to Florida, got blown out by Georgia? Or is Texas the team that ran away with the second half against Oklahoma? I don't know which team shows up. Don't know. If they're playing somebody really good, they usually get their face kicked in. Unless you're a face painter, okay? If you're asking which one of those teams shows up over the next 2 weeks in Austin, unless you're a face painter, and there's plenty of those, the data says they're more likely to be the team that got lucky against Kentucky and lost to Florida and Georgia. That's what the body of work of this season tells you is most likely to have happened. So winning the last 2 was unlikely, but then again, Saturday was kind of weird in a lot of ways. Then again, Arkansas is awful, and Texas A&M took everyone on an acid trip this weekend, and honestly in more ways than one. So more than likely, the not-so-good team that does a lot of stupid things is the one that shows up in Austin over the next couple of weeks. But if not, it's out there. And yes, if they were to win, they would get into the tournament. Reality. Oh, my. Your Aggies almost had the most Aggie-like day ever. Your Caldwell Aggies were very close, and I was following this all day, and it just kept stacking up, and weird things kept stacking up, and I thought to myself, this is could be the most Aggie-like day. The Caldwell Aggies were close to being their own Aggie joke. It was awfully close, and don't tell me you didn't think about it. The joke was writing itself as the day went on. And then, there was a punchline, no doubt about it. But think about how the day, here's why I say that. Think about how the day was going for the Aggies. Hours before they kick off against 3-win, it's important that we mention that, 3-win South Carolina, it's reported that A&M is in the process of extending, got it? Very famous word, right? Extending, and that is a word that should trigger all Aggies. When you hear extend, you should start to get the shakes. But it's reported mid-morning, this is when I first saw it, that they're going to extend Mike Elko's contract. Now, by the way, I told you college sports bureaucrats will not change. It doesn't matter how stupid the deals are. It doesn't matter how they get burned. It doesn't matter how much money they lose. They will find a way. These buffoons will find a way to justify creating long-term coaching contracts. The fiscal insanity of college football will not stop. Report, and I'm not saying Mike Elko's a bad coach. That's not what I'm saying at all. The idea of putting people on 10-year contracts is asinine. It just is. Who better to know that than Texas A&M? But reports surfaced, I think it was ESPN or Yahoo, had the story that A&M would extend Mike Elko for another 6 years and then make him one of the 5 highest paid coaches in football. And so, of course, then the screaming will be, and I can hear it now, but this time it's different, Jeff. See, this time it's going to work. Yeah, right. Famous last words of most college programs. And by the way, don't get paranoid, Aggies, although a lot of this is about you, and the joke is going to keep going. Everybody else does it. It's dumb all the way around. But the famous last words for every program not named Georgia. Extend. Long term. So there's no reason to extend a coach to a 10-year contract. There's none. Stop saying it. Stop doing it. But they're going to. But that was just the start of it was just the start of the creation of either the best or worst Aggie joke ever. So they're going to extend Mike Elko. That's announced. Then A&M kicks off at home against 3-win South Carolina. They proceed to get boat raced at home 30-3 by halftime. It was 30 minutes of the most bizarre football you'll ever see. Okay? The second half was 30 minutes of the most bizarre football you'll ever see. The roles were completely reversed. The football world, of course, by 30-3 is buzzing. I'm watching this thinking, this is an acid trip. Whatever that's like, I don't even know. So along the way, okay, and I'm just watching this day play out. Of course, along the way, it's 30-3. And along the way, the most Aggie-like thing happened, didn't it? You now know the story. You've now seen the video. South Carolina receiver Nick Harbor. He catches an 80-yard touchdown. It's late in the second quarter. I'm trying to remember when that was. Late in the second quarter, and he goes through the end zone, but he grabs his leg and he starts limping toward the tunnel, whatever end of the stadium that's in. Okay? Remember, this is all happening during this acid trip of a first half. So then a couple of players come over to join him. And then they kind of go up the tunnel a little way. You know this. You've seen it now. And then they turn to walk back to the field. That's when they're met by Harry Callahan. The Harry Callahan of DPS troopers who decided he would go Dirty Harry on them. Harry Callahan, for those that don't know, which is everyone, that was the actual name of Dirty Harry. His cop was Harry Callahan. So this knucklehead, and try to spin it, I guess. If you want to spin it, shut your face. Give me a break. This knucklehead, like when I saw this happen, I thought, I am watching the worst Aggie joke ever. This all can't be happening. So, of course, Dirty Harry slams into two of the players right there at the tunnel. Then he turns and points a finger at him like he's a middle school gym teacher. And then the players, who, of course, handled it incredibly well because some lunatic cop in the tunnel is going off on them, they handled it well, and they go walking back on the field. Now, I'm sure it's happening in different places, but I'm sure on talk radio in many, many places around this state, here I can promise you what the things being said are. I've heard them a million times. It usually goes something like this. I'm sure they did something to provoke him. They were probably carrying knives, nunchucks, throwing stars, switchblades. I don't know. You know, Jeff, he was just doing his job. That's the kind of knuckleheaded stuff you would hear on talk radio. And all of it is absolute BS. He looked and acted like an absolute buffoon. The part that's not funny is if that man is that triggered at a football game, if he's that triggered by the sight, fill in the blank, of a couple of football players, are we sure we're okay with him out there driving around the highways pulling people over? That's the part that's not funny. You acted like that during a football game? What are you doing there anyway, by the way? Why are there so many cops at football games? Why are there so many cops that stand around coaches like they're in the CIA or something? What is that? So, I mean, it's just, I don't know what that nut was doing. What made Dirty Harry so angry? The score is 30-3, man. Settle down. Oh, they were going to rob the concession stand. That's it. Yeah, they're going to George Bush Library to spray graffiti. Like, what was the giant concern that led to the profiling? I said it. I don't even know what he was supposed to be doing. But that's really worrisome. I'm not even sure what the latest is, but was suspended from his game day duties. Well, that's nice. Well, let's make sure we get him a car and a gun and let him drive around a little bit. But okay. Dirty Harry was pissed. He acted like a fool, and the day is continuing. Like you're watching the acid trip of an Aggie joke play itself out. And so, where does it go next? It's 30-3. Now think about it. I want you to think about the simple math of being ahead 30-3. You have 30 minutes of football left. You've got approximately 25 seconds between plays. Okay, do the math on that, please. You're up 30-3. If you just threw in a couple of first downs here and there, and you decided that you would run the ball on every single play, you still win after being up 30-3. Math is on your side to just sit down on the field, down after down after down. The win probability for South Carolina was, I believe, 98.7% or something like that. It's the biggest comeback, as everybody knows now, in A&M history. It's the biggest of this season. It was the largest comeback in the SEC since 2004. They were down 30-3, and they won. What to make of it? There's another interesting part to this, the football part to this. What to make of it? Other than South Carolina, well, another thing that I did notice, the South Carolina coach is an idiot. The only person more unhinged and dumber than the trooper in the end zone is the moron coaching South Carolina. I'm sure if you've watched any reels at all, you've seen this buffoon leave at halftime. Up 30-3, no doubt. There's a lot to be happy about. You're up 30-3 against the number 3 team in the country. But he goes into the tunnel. I guess Harry Callahan's not in that tunnel. And he's waving his arms at the crowd. And he is going absolutely nuts, like he's at a pep rally. So he goes in, they go in 33, and then the whole thing flips on its head, and A&M goes on to win. So there is a serious flaw, both mentally and physically, to get behind 30-3 at home. There is. Something is way off there. That's not okay. That was a team, that South Carolina team with 3 wins and they're left for dead. That's freakish. Let me put it that way. That's freakish. To get behind like that, to play that horribly is freakish on the front end. One of the knocks on A&M, and I've mentioned this a couple of times before we get to the good part about A&M and how the Aggie joke did not play itself out completely. But one of the things about A&M is they do, and I've said this before, they do have these weird lapses on defense. Now, the other side of the ball can be spectacular. And so, I've never seen them like that. They do have lapses. And I've mentioned that a few times. But to disappear for 30 minutes is comical. It really is. That's hard to pull off. Marcel Reed at the half down 30-3 was 6 of 19 with 2 interceptions. It's almost impossible to play that badly in a half. But there's 30 more minutes. The other side of this is the amazing thing about this A&M team that I've been talking about for several weeks now. I've told you that no team in the sport, now I didn't think it would go like this, but no team in the sport can score in bunches like A&M. It's the most explosive offensive team in the game today. And once they feel it, and I've said this many, many times, it's weird to watch. When they feel it, when they make a couple things go right, they turn the game into a track meet. In this case, they made it a 30-minute track meet. It's a team that seems to flip, as I've said many times this year. I didn't think it'd go like this, but they flip a switch and they run off and leave you. No one can do it in the game like they can. Now, I don't know how you get behind 30-3, but it was all on full display in 30 minutes. What you saw in the second half is some of the stuff I've been talking about is that nobody has that many players that can break a game open like they can. There's never been more opposites. Like, I have no idea. I think I know that A&M team. I think I know how well they can play for most of a game. I think no matter what, you can expect these glitches. Not 30-minute glitches usually, but 2 or 3 5-minute glitches. Which one of those teams shows up in Austin? I mean, I wouldn't have even asked the question had I not watched the first 30 minutes of that game with Dirty Harry and all and said, what in the world is this? Which one of those teams shows up in Austin? Overreaction. The Kansas City Chiefs' playoff lives are over. The reality, at 5-5, it's close. It's really, really close. It's the safe bet, but they're not dead yet. But this is football karma. This is one of the things I talk about. It all evens itself out. The breaks, the good luck, the good bounces, it all evens itself out. Patrick Mahomes has been the starter in Kansas City for 7 seasons. The Chiefs have been to the AFC Championship game in each of those seasons. That part, I think, is over. And I think you do too. They've lost 5 games, though, this year, all of them by 1 score. A year ago, they were 10-0 in 1-score games. A 3-point loss to Denver is telling to me. It's significant. Not just that they lost, but it's the way it went down. Bo Nix is not Patrick Mahomes, but he's good enough. But what it does show you, just like always, great defense beats great offense. And the Broncos have an inexpensive quarterback on a rookie contract, and they have loaded up on defensive players, and it works. The problem the Chiefs have at 5-5 is that's with Baltimore and Houston, and somehow, some way, the Texans have the tiebreaker advantage right now because they have a better conference record. So oddly enough, they could be the one that keeps them out. Reality. Dumb decisions are an epidemic in football. Stupid is an epidemic in football. All levels of football. There are times, not many of them, there are times to go for it on 4th down. But it can be costly. and it can be pointless a lot of the time. But the poster child, and you know I scream about this every single week, and I have concluded now that we have an epidemic of stupid, not just in college football, where stupid is on display almost constantly. But we have an epidemic of stupid in the NFL. The poster child for going on 4th down is Detroit head coach Dan Campbell. This genius decided to go on 4th down, get ready for it, 5 times. That's not 5 times. Now let's have some context here. This is what makes this even dumber. That's not going forward on 4th down 5 times against Dallas, who is trash on defense. This meathead went forward 5 times against the defending champs, one of the 3 best defenses in the NFL, and they have the best defensive line in the NFL. How did this pan out, everyone? They went 0 for 5. But the rocket scientist even tried a fake punt. How did that work out? That did not work out well either. So the Eagles scored. It didn't work out. The Eagles go on and score. The Lions lost 16-9. 3 of the attempts led to points. Now listen to this. Here's a look at the 5 times they did it, and then he's apologized and said, I shouldn't have done it. 4th and 1 from their own 48. 4th and 2 from their own 43. That was a fake punt. It is stupid, in all caps, to fake a punt on your own 43 against the defending Super Bowl champions. 4th and 5 from the Eagles 32. 4th and goal from the Eagles 3. 4th and 3 from the Eagles 45. Here's what Dan Campbell had to say about it. By the way, it's a problem because they're now 6 and 4. He said, and I'm quoting here, if you go totally conservative in the way this game played out and the way it was, you got a better chance of winning the game than some of the decisions I made. I understand that, but that's who we are. That's who I am. And it bit us today. Not only are the decisions shockingly stupid, but that explanation is off the charts. So let me just play along with the logic here, because I hear this a lot from meathead analysts who like to say, I love the aggressiveness. Because see, everyone, stupid is not a good thing. Stupid that makes you lose is a really bad thing. So there may be justification for taking a risk, but in the name of it's who I am is comical. In the name of, ooh, that's cool to be aggressive is even worse. He's saying, I probably shouldn't have done it. I knew I shouldn't have done it. It cost us the game, but that's what I do. No, you actually are supposed to win the games and try to win the games. So don't do stupid stuff. See, it's like saying I strike out a lot, but I swing really hard. That doesn't make it better. Somehow this guy is saying, well, that's who I am. Makes it better. You're 6 and 4. You fool went it forward on 4th down 5 times against the best defense in the sport. And then your answer is, I shouldn't have done it. We probably could have won without it. But that's what I do. How long do you employ a person who has that kind of logic? Well, I know it's probably a dumb thing to do, but I'm going to do it anyway, and I try really hard at doing it so everyone will be cool with it, right? Except you lost. You went 0 for 5, and you lost. All right, feel free to agree or disagree. Hey, here's a recommendation backed up by my own experience, a great experience. And that is, I've been a client of DJC Law, and I can tell you this. You're going to get 3 things with DJC Law. You'll notice it right away. The difference is you will get peace of mind. They will take care of every single detail perfectly, and you will get the result you deserve. If you're injured by the negligence of someone else, fighting with an insurance company for any reason, trust me when I tell you, you will need DJC Law. Dan Christensen and his team of attorneys have a remarkable track record. I've known Dan a long time. He's a military vet. He's board certified in civil trial law, and I've been a client. So you can trust them. you will get the result you deserve. Check out teamjustice.com, and you'll see thousands of 5-star reviews. The bottom line is, if you're in an accident, you need DJC Law. Contact them right away. 512-888-9999.